Sports plays a huge role when it comes to developing children's character and identity.
But there is growing concern on and off the field. How much is too much? And are parents and coaches pushing their kids too far? Our Dan Bowens takes a closer look in the first of our new special Fox Doc series.
So they told me that my brain rattled around in my skull.
Concussions do not discriminate.
How much are we pushing them too much? Can they physically take it?
It got so bad where I couldn't hold anything with my right hand. I couldn't feel my right hand.
It's pitching when they were 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 12 months a year.
There's no question, athletics are an important part of a child's development, from growing teamwork skills to confidence. And these days, there are more kids involved in organized sports than ever before. A kid's competitive career might start early, 5, 6, 7 years old. And with an increase in intensity, there's also an increase in the possibility of physical injury. It is a dark side of modern-day youth sports. From worn-out arms on the baseball diamond to concussive collisions on the soccer field, and head injuries between the lines of the gridiron. You don't have to look any further than the sidelines for a few examples. Like in the bleachers of this Little League playoff game we visited on a random Saturday in North Caldwell, New Jersey. Tell me what happened to your elbow.
I have a possible stress fracture in my elbow from overuse.
Overused, elbow in a sling. For teenagers like Robbie Hollander, who pitch nearly year-round, it's a story becoming all too common. How did it happen?
Just overused, pitching too much, relying on my quad.
Yeah. Were you pitching with this team, pitching with your middle school team? Were you sort of doing a lot?
Both teams.
When you break, make sure you're breaking like this.
The pressure for talented kids to pitch and pitch well starts early. Karen Kahn's son Peyton is 8.
He plays on one or two fall ball teams, and in the spring he plays on his Little League team, and then in the summer he plays on an all-stars team. I guess we don't know now what is too much on a child's body. How much are we pushing them too much? Can they physically take it?
The pain it started here and it crept down my forearm and pretty much mainly these 3 fingers, but my whole hand was pretty much like pins and needles. Basically you play like 9 months year round nowadays, so it's a lot of wear and tear on your arm, and pitching is the most physically strenuous position on the field, so you do that for a while and you wind up here. Here at the Hospital for Special Surgery on Manhattan's Upper East Side, 19-year-old Queens College pitcher John DONDERO is awaiting Tommy John surgery, a procedure to repair a snapped ligament in his elbow. You always see the surgeries and you think like it's going to be someone else, like it's always someone else, and then soon enough, like, your elbow hurts and you're in the waiting room.
This thing fixed and get you on the road to recovery, all right?
We were invited into the operating room where top orthopedic surgeon Dr. David Alchek led the team. Alchek specializes in sports medicine and consults for several pro teams, including the New York Mets. Are you seeing this in even younger people?
Absolutely.
17, 16?
16, 15. We're seeing there's a version of it that occurs in true adolescents, 11, 12-year-olds, where they fracture the bone, where the ligament attaches instead of the ligament itself. So it's a big problem.
The surgery replaces the injured ulnar collateral ligament in the elbow with a tendon taken from somewhere else in the patient's body or a cadaver. Dr. Alchek believes kids aren't simply throwing too much, but throwing too hard, too often, far too early in life.
And then when they are throwing, we should, except in competitive situations, keep the velocity down, not up. And we shouldn't allow velocity to go too high in competitive situations until they're fully mature.
Probably got the most famous elbow in the world. The effectiveness of the surgery exemplified in the man it's named after, Tommy John.
I pitched 13 seasons after the surgery. Never missed a start in 13 seasons.
40 years ago, John was the first man to undergo the procedure. Now he's among its critics, outraged at how the surgery has become an accepted, even expected part of a young pitcher's resume.
Your arm is not capable of taking year-round pitching, and I tell parents this.
According to a Bleacher Report study, about a third of all big league pitchers, more than 120 guys, have now had the procedure. Many are young stars just into their 20s, including Mets ace Matt Harvey.
The injury is an overuse injury, and it's not from these guys pitching 100 pitches a game in the big leagues. It's pitching when they were 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 12 months a year.
Which brings us back to North Caldwell. Same field, different concern: concussions.
Well, the first one was like a dizziness.
Michael Scamarella was watching his younger brother play. Next season, Michael will pitch at Villanova. He plays baseball exclusively now after suffering 2 concussions playing football when he was younger.
After the second one, we decided that he wouldn't have another concussion from football, and we pulled him out of football.
If the parents of a 12-year-old boy were to say to a football official, "We cannot in good conscience allow our son to play football," what's the possible response from a football official?
The recent documentary, The United States of Football, was made to help educate parents. Director Sean Pamphilon is himself a parent.
Trying to get answers as to whether or not it was appropriate.
Pamphilon's film gives a frightening look at the long-term injuries of former NFL players, most notably Kyle Turley.
It can lead to other really bad things, onsets of dementia, Alzheimer's disease. Not really looking forward to that.
And just last year, the NFL agreed to a settlement of $765 million over concussion-related brain issues, agreeing to pay its 18,000 retired players, compensate them, pay for medical expenses, and underwrite research. And recently, they removed a cap on damages after a judge questioned whether that was enough money. Right down. The NFL is involved in a program called Heads Up Football, created to teach youngsters how to tackle safely. This Heads Up clinic, hosted by the Giants, saw youth coaches taking classes and taking the field.
Ultimately, what we're seeing here is that we're producing a better and safer game with some of the teaching techniques, and then also part of it is about parent education.
And I think it's very important that we teach our 7, 8, 9-year-olds at the fundamental stage the importance of proper tackling, proper techniques, and also for our coaching staff. I think there's a lot of coaches out there that need to get the understanding of how we need to train our youth.
During a recent seminar at the White House, President Obama stressed traumatic brain injuries aren't just for boys. I mean, is that something you guys see as well? I mean, you're seeing a lot of girls who have these head injuries and concussion-related injuries?
Yes, well, concussions do not discriminate.
A concussion is a type of traumatic brain injury caused by a blow or jolt to the head that can change the way your brain normally works. Outside of football, the Centers for Disease Control estimates girls soccer players have some of the highest rates. Casey Friedman suffered 3 concussions playing soccer in high school.
So they told me that my brain rattled around in my skull.
This animation illustrates the concussion dangers players could face while on the field. A player's head slamming into the ground, a player's head hitting the ball too hard, or even 2 players colliding.
I got my second one, like my first or second day back, because I was playing like I had been playing, so I was being very aggressive, and I went up and I got hit again.
And
so
maybe if you'd taken more time.
If I had taken more time, I probably would have healed better.
Kids' brains take much longer to heal than in adults. Knowing when it's safe to return to play is an ongoing challenge, but is typically determined by a mix of physical and mental testing. At the Sports Care Performance Institute in Whippany, New Jersey, athletes are given rigorous balance testing as one way to measure.
This last test, I'm going to have her close her eyes and go.
Right now, all 50 states have passed laws to address traumatic brain injury, with many focusing on youth sports. Still, Dr. Jim Kindernecht is specialist in pediatric sports medicine and a consultant with the New York Giants, says long-term effects of TBI on a young mind are still unknown.
If I'm dealing with an ankle injury and they're 90% better, that's usually good enough. When I'm dealing with a brain injury, most of us agree that 90% isn't good enough. So it's that whole thing is, when are you 100% recovered?
Questions like this led filmmaker Sean Pamphilon to come to this conclusion about his son.
Parents should rely on the maturity of their kid, but also give them the right information and empower them to make that choice.
And back on that field in North Caldwell, a similar message from a parent on the sidelines.
As a baseball mom, I've learned the hard way, you could say, from my older children's injuries, just about, keeping them, keeping the throwing count down, keeping them strong.
What does Tommy John think about Tommy John surgery?
I'm proud to be associated with Dr. Job and the surgery, and him naming it the Tommy John surgery. But the thing that's disheartening and alarming is all these guys having it now. I would rather be the pitcher that goes through my whole career, Little League, Babe Ruth League, high school, American Legion, college, pro ball, and not have to miss a day in my life.
Dan Bowens, Fox 5 News.